በትምህርት ከፍ ብሎ መብረር ይቻላል። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ከከፍተኛ ትምህርት አግባብነትና ጥራት ኤጀንሲ ሙሉ ዕውቅናን ባገኘንባቸው በማስተርስ ዲግሪ ኤምቢኤ በስትራቴጂክ ማኔጅመንት፣ ኤምቢኤ በባንኪንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ ኤምቢኤ በቢዝነስ ሊደርሺፕ፣ ኤምቢኤ በሪስክና ኢንሹራንስ፣ ኤምኤስሲ በኢንተርናሽናል ትሬድ እና ኢኮኖሚክስ ዘርፎች በእውቀት ለመቅረጽ የበቁ ፕሮፌሰሮቻችን አረንጓዴ መብራታቸውን አብርተዋል። በነገራችን ላይ በኬንያ ሀገር ከሚገኙ ስመጥር ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች በሚመጡ ፕሮፌሰሮች የትኩረት መስክ ትምህርቶቹ መሰጠታቸው ልዩ ያደርገናል። በምርጥ የትምህርት ስርዓት የተገነባው ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ በመጀመሪያ ዲግሪ በአቪዬሽን ማኔጅመንት፣ በሆቴል ማኔጅመንት፣ በአካውንቲንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ በማርኬቲንግ ማኔጅመንት አስተማማኝ ትምህርት ይገቢውና ራስዎንና ሀገሮን ይለውጡ። አድራሻ 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
I think we could just start. Now, I said today we were to look at the lecture on succession planning. I think that should be lecture 13 and 14. So that just remains that means we shall remain with one set of lectures. But there was case study. There was case study 6 and case study 7. Which we had not discussed. So I wanted, before we begin on today's lecture, to maybe find somebody who can volunteer to give us the discussion. Oh, so is there anybody who can volunteer to brief us on what happened in case study number 6 and then case study number 7? Before then, I look at today's lecture. Is there anybody who can volunteer? Yeah.
Let me be ice break.
Yeah. You want to do case study number
6? Case
Good.
study
Yes.
6.
So go. Yeah. Go on.
Okay. I think when we see the case study regarding the 6, there is good things that make them to solve the corporate governance problem easily. Initially, the company management played an important role in convincing the owners of the importance of corporate governance from the positive aspect, and also from the company financial and marketing value. So from the beginning, the company management is played a decisive role to have good corporate governance by convincing the owners regarding the company's finance and marketing value. Also, this is good for them. The other thing is a strategy. The strategy of the company also based on continuously improving customer satisfaction. While they make their strategy is based on continuously improving the customer satisfaction by emphasizing the high corporate governance. Even if they are creating their strategy or they are doing their strategy, they are based emphasizing the high corporate governance. And also the management and shareholder discuss as they would be crucial to have a clear framework of corporate governance. The third one also, they are crucial to have the clear framework of the corporate governance. Before initially, they are focused on corporate governance. The other thing is strong corporate governance standards. They use the strong corporate governance standards were implemented in. Also, minority shareholders can now monitor the company's performance in a transparent manner. So this is also help them to solve to have a strong corporate governance. The other one is they use balanced decision-making process. Having balancing decision process also can play a decisive role to solve any problem regarding corporate governance and guides companies a key strategy decisions. So the other one is disclosure. They have disclosure committee. So this committee was established to make a decision on disclosure related issue. So this is also other good part what I get from the case 6. The other one is internal control group was set up. They set up the internal control group, and also internal audit financing was upgrading. Also, this is a good chance for them. The other end, they begin reporting direct to the board of director, directly to the board of director. As I say in last class when I was present the another case in our country, our the management and the board of director is very far. Even reports are prepared yearly, once a year, and the management, the board of director is depend on that yearly report to have different decisions. But here is they begin a report directly to board of directors. This is also good part. And the other one is the net shareholder have committee to good corporate. They are the net the shareholders committed. They have commitment to have a good corporate governance. Due to these good situations, maybe they have good corporate governance, and also this helps them to solve problem easily. This is Doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. That was case number 6. Anybody who can volunteer to summarize case number 7 before we begin on today's class? I think.
Okay, let me try.
Yeah, just try it.
This is Bru.
Yeah. Biru, you want to try it?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
Explain.
Yeah, just explain if you are not. Yeah.
Any visual.
Mm.
Okay. I'm trying to explain about the background of the company that we are trying to see about the Suzano. The name of the company is Suzano Paper and Pulp Company. A Brazilian share. It's a Brazilian share company and established by shareholders. Structure of the company, as I have seen. I have seen the structure is the chairman of the board of director, no longer the company of the CEO, and no board members are belongs to the management, and the chairman of the board of directors no longer the companies of the CEO. And also the board and the senior management is established through the managing committee, and board directors are composed of 9 members, 2 independent directors, and they are working for 1 year. And good corporate governance, in terms of good corporate governance practices, as a result of well-structured authorities, there is no conflict of interest in between the board of directors, and there is restructured by adopting a business unit management model whose objectives are excellent on, especially in client-focused strategy and accountability and leadership. In these 3 things, there was the restructured system they are using. And working experience in 2003, this company listed its shares on level of according to the Bovos Pace company's standard measurement style. In this year, meets its market expectations through its successful results, that is 442 million. And also until 2005, the link between the management and the board of directors was guaranteed by the presence of representatives of the holding in the top management provides for cost reduction and swift implementation of strategic positioning and firing polybars and its conversion into an operating companies. Suzanis moved to the same model of as one of adapted for Suzano people's cellulose, but with an intimated phase to ensure a homogeneous merger of culture. And in November 2004, Suzano's petrochemicals joined level 2 of Bovespa's special coordinates governance and adopt additional government measures required, and it's become a level 2 companies, and it becomes the first family-run corporation. The first firm in the petrochemical sector, this company joined the level 2 standards. Ways of working, in terms of ways of working, all minority shareholders have the right to sell their share at 80% of the price received by the controlling groups in case of company sales or merge. And other working ways of working, the right goes beyond the 70% minimum tag along right required by the Bovespa's level 2. The limit was 70%, but this company has the right to sell shareholders 80% of its price. And Suzano's result at the end, petrochemical stores repositioning in the capital market in second half of 2004, increasing transparency. Because of this, they are increasing transparency, start communication with websites, and the company become having good communication in between the shareholders and the company. In terms of the modernization of the corporate governance, it has a positive, clear impact on both the proper and public and petrochemical income, petrochemical companies, economic wise. Suzano people cellulose increased its market capitalization from 333 million to 1.5 billion in 2004. So the companies become so profitable, and in terms of trading volume also increasing from less than 1 million to 6 million. And also in the volume of Suzano petrochemicals are increased the volume from 119 to and 119, and in 2004 twice the performance of the IBOVS index market capitalization. So the daily average trading volume also listed share from 104,000 in 2003 and 642,000 in 2004. So from this continuous improvement of Hispanic, we have got a detailed lesson, and we study a lot of things from this company, especially the sustainability of the business does not really executive on the profitability only. It needs to be embraced by all stakeholders, members of the controlling committee, also play a great role on profitability. So the business does not really exclusively focus on profitability only. So corporate government practices are the best align interest towards the ultimate goal of the company. Also stimulate the development of Brazilian capital market and attract more retail investments to the stock exchange. That is it about the company.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's also a very good, a good analysis of. I think that both two companies, Case 6 and Case 7, very good analysis of why corporate governance is important and what some companies are do so that they enhance performance by ensuring that they adopt good corporate governance principle. So I think that's quite good. Maybe I just want to remind you that Friday next week on 25th, you're submitting your term paper and case study 9 and 8, right? So Friday next week, please try to make sure you've submitted your term paper and the 2 case studies. So that basically would mean 30, 10, 10, and 10. Case study 1 is 10, another one 10, and then the term paper 30, and then attendance 10. Hey, okay. So I think let me. That was very good from Kirubel and Biru in terms of the discussions on the case study 6 and 7. I think that's very detailed. Maybe that's the same kind of detail I expect in your when you're handing in your case 8 and 9, and possibly also this, the same kind of detail. 9 and 10, and the same kind of detail when you'll be doing the analysis of any corporate governance structure that you know for your company or any other company that you know, so that you look at the loopholes, whether it's well written or there are some things you think could be added. I think that would be very good, so that maybe after this, if you you could then just ensure that you've read more, and you could be a corporate governance expert, possibly by just trying to make sure you have understood all the details, you have read the right books, and then you try to relate this to the Ethiopian experience, so that that becomes an area that you can easily specialize in. So today, I just wanted to take you briefly through director's performance and remuneration. Remuneration is about payment, like salary is normally what we call remuneration. So we want to see the link between performance and remuneration. Remember, I had posed a question last week and I said that you'd find in some organization, maybe the CEO or the directors are paid very highly, and the common worker gets very low pay. So what we are asking is it ethical? Is there any rationale for such a disparity in pay? So that's what we want to look at. And as I said, all over the world, the payment for directors, the salaries for CEOs have really attracted a lot of debate globally. So some of the issues that have been have struck a lot of debate are, for example, number one, the overall level of directors' remuneration and the role of share options, suitability of performance measures linking directors' remuneration with performance, the role played by a remuneration committee in setting of directors' remuneration. Is there really a link between the directors' pay and performance of the company? And so does it mean that if the company is reporting losses, is not performing well, then the director should have a pay cut? So if there's a link between performance and the pay, then that should also come in. Some of the other issues that brings debate is that directors' remunerations debate clearly highlights one important aspect of the principle and agents theory, you know. So you have the director here as the agent, and you have the shareholders here as the principal. So then the debate is how much is enough to pay, let's say, the CEO, and what should that rate be pegged on, you know? That's really what the debate has been all about. I'm sure even in your country, maybe that disparity exists, where you'd find it is in millions, let's say, of dollars, the difference between the CEO or the GM's pay and the other management staff. So is it fair? No, that should be the question. Is it really fair? Even though in our previous discussions on leadership, we said that the CEO or the GM provides leadership. And so if the company is doing well, then we are going to assume it's based on their leadership. And if the company is not doing well, then we expect the CEO to accept responsibility and maybe step down, right? Or accept a pay cut. So those are some of the issue. Now, so there are three critical things that, because you're saying in the UK, a commission established to investigate directors' compensation issues made 12 recommendations under 3 headings. So the first is transparency, right? So it's important that we pay basic salaries to company executives. That is, remuneration committee may elect to award one additional performance where it's suitable. Publish the top 10 executive pay packages outside the boardroom. So it's important that the top 10 executive pay packages, that's according to this UK commission. I'm sure that doesn't work even in my country here. It doesn't work like that. But of course, people know the pays of the top earners in the company. Standardized remuneration reports require fund managers and investigators to disclose how they vote on remuneration. So basically, again, the big question, you see in the public service, we have, in Kenya, we have a body called Salaries and Remuneration Committee, SRC, that then sets maybe the salaries for public servants, yeah? And then, of course, the salaries for, that's for top public servants, yeah? The others are set by the Public Service Commission. So basically then, what these are saying is that this has to be standardized across different departments, different organizations. So I'm wondering how that maybe would be applicable. There's also the issue of accountability. So it means that you need to have accountability in the remuneration committees that decides on how much the top management should be paid, yeah? So that's also an issue. And then fairness. The word fairness is often very, very subjective, you know? But it's important that there's fairness when establishing salaries and remunerations of maybe the top executives or the top management in an organization. As you can see, these are issues that are very subjective, you know. We have talked about transparency, accountability, and fairness in determining the salaries of the top executives in the organization. Ideally, in the private sector, this is based on performance and maybe based on the industry standards, right? However, in the public service, sometimes it may not be based on performance, but it's based on maybe a scale that has been set by the government. So that's now where normally the disparity comes. Sometimes you'd find the same job in the private sector, maybe you're earning more than if you are to be in the public sector. So those are the issues here of concern to us in corporate governance. Now, let's look at some of the elements of the director's remuneration. directors' remuneration can encompass four key elements that are of great corporate governance. So number one, the base pay. There's the basic pay for the director. And then there are bonuses, Sometimes they receive annual bonuses. Possibly if the company makes profit, then there's a bonus that goes to the director. So that would also form part of their pay. And sometimes the bonuses are actually much higher than the basic pay. And then there's the stock options, right? Stock options give directors the right to purchase shares, stocks at a specified price over a period of time. And then there's the restricted share plan. That is the stock grants. So all these can form part of the GM or the director's remuneration. So there is the basic pay, there are the bonuses, there are the stock options, and then there's the restricted share plans, right? We could have other benefits also like pension, and maybe things like healthcare and the rest can also come in. So all these would encompass, so put up together at the end of the year, you look at the director's remuneration in terms of how much they have received over the year in terms of the basic pay, in terms of maybe bonuses or stock options, or things like that. So all these then forms part of what we'd call the director's remuneration. You see, the only reason, there from the word go, I've been trying to say that the problem would be, what's the justification for how much they should earn? I told you sometimes the differences are abnormally high between what maybe the GM and the executive directors and the top management earn as compared to the average employee. You see, then the argument would be that they're the ones steering the company, they're the ones providing leadership, and they're the ones ensuring that such high profits are reported. But of course, the lower cadre guys will also say they're the ones who are doing the operational work to ensure that things are done in the right way. So it's a big debate out there in terms of what should be done. And maybe I'll allow you also to get into the debate. So the following 5 points provide guidelines on how executive remuneration should be approached. Number one, remuneration packages should have a balance between fixed and variable pay and between long and short-term incentives. Now that's very clear. So it has to have a balance between fixed and variable pay. For example, the basic pay, right? Then the bonuses may be annual, right? Then there is the share options, which can be long-term, Performance-based remuneration arrangement. Again, this can be very critical so that your pay is pegged on your performance, and your performance is pegged on certain key factors that are based on industry. Maybe we would expect you to report profits above industry standards or something like that. So that can also be a basis of pegging the performance. Remuneration committee should have regard to pay and conditions generally in the company, taking into account the business size. So again, there will be no need to pay the director so much when maybe the business size. So this has to be taken into consideration. The size of the company, how much the company is bringing in, how many people it's employing and such things. Share option scheme should link remuneration to performance and align the long-term interest of management. And performance targets should be disclosed in the remuneration report, If it is pegged on performance, then that should be put in the remuneration report. Basically, it should be part of your contract, because if your contract is performance-based, then there should be a clause on that. And there should be a clause that states what happens when you don't meet the targets that are set in your contract. So I think those are ways we can talk about. We also said we have non-executive directors, and the remuneration of non-executive directors is decided by the board, or where required by the articles of association or the shareholders in general meetings. So depending on the company, the board can decide how much the non-executive directors are remunerated. people like those who sit on the board of advisory, or sometimes the shareholders can decide, then executive director should be paid a fee commensurate with the size of the company. So again, you would not expect maybe a small company with with very little earnings to pay the same as what you would expect in a top range company. So again, that should also be dependent on the company. It's also important that remunerations for all these cadres of people is disclosed, especially for publicly quoted companies. I know companies that maybe are quoted in the Ethiopian Stock Exchange. Such information should be made public. It should not, so that everybody else is public knowledge. The salary of the directors, the salary of the CEO, the salary of the top management should not be something hidden. It should be in the public domain, right? And as you can see, quoted companies should publish a detailed report on directors' pay as part of the annual report cycle. And this report must be approved by the board of directors. So such information should be made public so that all the shareholders are in the know on what happens, right? A graph of the company's total shareholder returns over 5 years, should be made public. Names of any consultants to the remuneration committee should be disclosed, and companies must hold a shareholder vote on the director's remuneration report on each general meeting. So all that we're just trying to say here is that this information should be made public. Who are members, it's purposes of accountability and to avoid bias. So to know, maybe it should be public, who are the members of the remuneration committee, right? And who else sits there. So those are some things that should be made public. Good. Maybe let's just pause to try to see if we can answer some of these questions. So number 8, that is part of the assignment. I said, number 1, what factors have influenced the executives' remuneration debate? From your understanding, what do you think are the factors that have influenced the debate on remuneration of, from maybe what I've just highlighted here on these slides and from your own understanding? What do you think are some of the things that have influenced remuneration of executives, top executives? Yeah. Becca, apart from what I've said here, what would you put emphasis? What would you want to emphasize on as some of the factors that have influenced this debate on how much the executive directors take home? What do you think are some of the other?
I think
Yeah.
It influences remuneration influenced by the performance of the company.
So and for you,
the yearly result.
So that is typical for the banking industry. You would say exactly. It's applicable, eh? Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. It depends on the profit and the capital increment. Another thing is how many days the executive directors spent on the company works.
How many hours or what?
How many days or hours they collectively have a meeting to solve every problems of the company. By is that by weekly base or 15 days or monthly or quarterly or semi-annually they collect together to discuss about the company. How many repetitively control the CEO and how they evaluate the CEO. The General Assembly meeting evaluate these all things. I think this might be the answer. Thank you.
Yeah. That's okay. That makes sense. So he says some of the things that will influence the debate on executive salary would be maybe how many hours do they put, how many hours do they put in the company's job. Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Is it annually? Yeah, and maybe days or hours. I think that's quite right. It makes sense to me, and a lot of it, according to Beckel and in the banking industry, is pegged on performance. Yeah. So that's right. Why is the area of executive directors' remuneration of such interest to investors and particularly to institutional investors? Why do you think they would be very much interested? Why the interest on knowing what the executive director's remuneration is? Why would you think maybe somebody external, like an investor, would want to be interested in knowing? Would that give an idea about how a company is run? Would that give an idea? Yeah?
I think this is important because it gives an idea how the company is functioning and how much there is no conflict of interest. It indicates that the minimization of conflict of interest. If an executive has a good remuneration, he can commit.
Yeah, I think we've lost you, but the point was very good. There's something Alemai wanted to say that I think what he was trying to say is that if the executive have a good remuneration, then they can commit more of their time to the company. I think that's a point that he was trying to put across before which is an important point, yeah? So maybe he'll complete it when he comes back, but I think that's something that I picked.
Yeah, Mr. Alamayo raised one good point.
Yeah.
And next to that, if they do that, they promote the other employees to work hard for the organization, not only for them. And also, because they are the leader for the organization, so they will try to be a good example, and they try to create good work habits among the employees. So this creates good opportunity for the company.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I don't know whether Alemayu has joined back. I've just admitted. Yes, Alemayu, you are saying something. Are you back? Is your net back? Okay.
Shall I add one point? This is Birru.
Yes, add 1 point, Biru.
The remuneration or the salary or any bonus are high in such kinds of people, in executive directors especially, because they are highly skilled and contribute a lot for the success of the company. And also they are very few in numbers. As we know, these skilled people, especially people who are in director levels, they are scarce. So every competitors try to take them and hire them. So these people should be highly paid, and a lot of benefits should be fulfilled for those people in order to keep the employee retention systems correctly. Otherwise the employee retention systems may fail from the top levels. Once the top levels are not sustainable, the rest of the rest part of the company become paralyzed. So because of they are very few in numbers and there is a scarcity in skilled peoples or very few in specialized peoples, the payment for them should be high. After that, they may work for a long period of time in the place where they are recruited or hired. That is the point that I want to raise.
Yeah, that's right. But we also believe, in as much as they are competitive because they are few, and so they have to be well remunerated. But I also accept what Kirubel and what Alimayu says. It should also be based on performance, because we wouldn't want to pay a lot of shareholders money, and yet the company is not doing well. So that is on the assumption that there is also good performance. So yes, I accept that. What are the main components of executive director's remuneration package? I think we went through this, and we say there's you could talk of a basic pay, then you could talk of like share options, then we say bonuses, then we say you can include other benefits like pensions, like medical care, you know, like share plan and the rest, yeah. Critically discuss the role of remuneration committee and remuneration consultants in setting executive directors' remuneration. We say that this body basically needs to, yes, Beckel, go ahead. You have raised your hand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to add something.
Yes, go ahead.
Before 12 years ago,
Yeah.
in our country, in banks, there was a bonus, 50% from the net profit. Net profit. 5% from net profit, they divided for 12 shareholder board of directors, they divided
5%.
Yes, 5%.
Uh-huh.
This was the rules of National Bank.
Yeah.
Before 10 years, the rule is cancelled, and they take only 50,000 birr bonus as a bonus.
Okay.
Do you know why? Before
No,
they
I don't
begin
know.
work, before they begin banking service in early stage, first year, second year, and third year, their profit is very little. At that time, their bonus also is very little. After 8 and 7 years, their bonus going to be 5 million and 10 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why the main reason the National Bank cancelled this rule and changed it by 50,000 birr only.
So it is now, so it is standard at 50,000.
Yes, I was remember when I'm thinking about remuneration and bonus of executive directors.
Wow, yeah. I think that makes sense, because if you say 5%, and so during, as you say, the early years when maybe the early years after year 1, year 2, then the profit is very low, but still if they're getting 5%, that's not fair. But so when they stay longer, 5, 10, 15 years, then this 5% will translate to a lot of millions of bills. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's why now they say it is 50,000 regardless of how many years one has worked. Okay. Critically, so that's good. Critically discuss performance criteria that may be used in determining executives' remuneration. Performance, mainly, most of it is about the profit, right? The profitability of the company. About maybe, but you see, everything else is judged on profit, right? Retention of employees, you know, all those kinds of things. But at the bottom line, the market that you can, how much spread the organization is in terms of market share, in terms of product portfolio. But then again, we would want to see, are we reporting profits? That's the fundamental thing. Critically discuss the importance of executive directors. So the disclosure, why do you think it's important that this is disclosed? Why is it important that it's not made a secret? I think that's the big question here. Why should it be disclosed? Why is it important that these salaries are not made a secret? Anybody with an idea why? Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
It's not. It should not be secret, because in every company there should be a great transparency. One of the good corporate governance systems are showing us transparency. So everything should be transparent. Otherwise, if it is hidden, a lot of questions might be raised by the people who are under these peoples. So to motivate others, especially to motivate all other managers and other employees, and to have hope to reach to such levels, and to work hard others, and to have a vision to reach these levels. Everybody has to know about this this reality. Everybody should know.
That's true.
Actually, it cannot be hidden in anything in an organization, because every payments are paid through the finance. By any means, the secrets are linking and become obvious for everyone. So for me, the main reason is to motivate others in order to reach to these high levels of working areas.
Yeah. So it's the disclosure is to make sure nothing is hidden, and also to motivate others to maybe strive to reach to those levels, so that it doesn't raise any questions. Yes, I think I totally accept. So I think
additional thing.
Yeah.
The boards and senior management of our bank shall be transparent to any shareholder, depositor, and any other relevant stakeholder, without breaching the law of the country.
Yeah.
That's the major thing why they disclose this issue. The law ordered them to disclose everything, what they work within the year and what they take from that company as a remuneration or bonus. They should have to disclose. The rules also order them to disclose. That's the major thing, I think so.
Yeah, good. Thank you. So I think that's quite interesting, Drew. Ultrapal, this is one of the case studies that you'll be presenting next Friday as part of the assignment. So we'll not discuss it. Now, the last bit of my discussion is on succession planning, and it's also a good corporate governance principle. Yes.
This is not part of the assignment. The assignment is case 9 and 10.
Yeah.
9 and 10. It's okay.
8 is not part of the assignment.
Good. Sorry. So I think 8. I think maybe you can just look at it. Then in the next class, maybe one of you will just try to help present it for us. But yes, so you can look at it later, and then we'll discuss it in the next class.
ለመማር ወደ ትምህርት ተቋም መሄድ ግድ አይደለም።
ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
ራሳችሁን ከኮሮና ቫይረስ ወረርሽኝ እየጠበቃችሁ በቤታችሁ ወይም በተመቻችሁ ቦታ
በኢንተርኔት አማካኝነት በኦንላይን ትምህርታችሁን መከታተል ይቻላል።
ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና
ከእንግሊዙ ኢንስቲትዩት ኦፍ ኮመርሻል ማኔጅመንት ICM ጋር በመተባበር የሚሰጡ ትምህርቶችን ተከታትላችሁ በ6 ወር ጊዜ በዓለም አቀፍ ደረጃ ተቀባይነት ያለውን የስልጠና ማስረጃ ባለቤት መሆን ይቻላል።
ከኢትዮጵያ ሲቪል አቪዬሽን ባለስልጣን ሙሉ ዕውቅና ባገኘንባቸው የፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን እና የሆስተስ ስልጠናም በምዝገባ ላይ ነን።
ጥያቄና መልስ፣ የክፍል ስራዎች ብሎም ፈተና መፈተን ክፍል ውስጥ እንዳላችሁ አይነት
ልምድ ባላቸው መምህራን እየተማራችሁ
በኦንላይን ባላችሁበት ቦታ
አድራሻ ከ22 ማዞሪያ ወደ ሾላ ገበያ በሚወስደው መንገድ 150 ሜትር ገባ ብሎ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ
ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
Now, the last bit of my discussion today is actually on succession planning. Also a very good corporate governance principle. And succession planning is important, whether you are talking of family businesses or you're talking of private business or you're talking of public business. Now, in public institutions, sometimes it's very difficult to talk about succession planning because we have the general managers, the directors, most of them are political appointees. And sometimes they are appointed and from different other places. You might find somebody being appointed from having been at the university as a lecturer or from another organization or from the military, things like that. But in private institution, then there's normally a very important to have a structure for succession planning. The reason why we are saying this is that the senior executives, like the general manager and the top executive, they are not going to be there forever. Somehow they may end up leaving the company because of death or because they get other jobs or they fall sick on things like that. So because of that, then you need to have a very good succession planning so that in the event that the GM or the CEO leaves, then there's no vacuum created. So that's why good planning usually should be that at any one time, there are about 3 people at below the level who are groomed and can fit into the position of the CEO when he leaves, or the general manager for that matter. Of course, we know in family businesses, this has been a problem, especially in my country here, where you find maybe a business is started by, you start a business, for example, like you, then it grows, so it becomes big, but then you find you have not really put structures in place in terms of maybe who takes over in the event that you leave, So maybe you have not properly groomed your children or your sons and daughters, provide them with the right training and the right exposure so that they're very clear, they can run the business so that in the event that you step out, then they easily step in. So you see, that's a big problem for us because in my country here, you'd find that especially private businesses, once the owner dies, then what follows are court squabbles, and then the siblings are fighting over the properties. And many times then those companies, you can just count 1 or 2 that survives after the owner dies. Many of them ends up with a mess because the children start fighting for property. So really then you find that it's because there wasn't a good succession plan for family business. Private entities, this is important. Public entities, I say, it's very difficult to talk about succession planning because of the manner in which appointments are made. But as I said, this is very critical. In fact, in many organizations, it should be that by the time you're joining that company as a new recruit, then you should be having the potential to rise to the top of that organization, which means basically you should be able to be groomed right from the word go, and so move through the ranks in the company. And you should be able to move until you get to the top. You mean, just like in America, they say that every child in America has equal opportunity to become the next president, which means anybody has the opportunity, given the right training and the right grooming, to be the next CEO or the next general manager. So it's based on how the HR department does the recruiting, exposures through training, the individuals that have been taken on board. And as they rise to certain levels, then there should be as I said, about 3 or 4 people who can be earmarked for the top position should the CEO, the general manager leave. So the critical thing that I'm trying to say here is that there should be no vacuum left, right? So approaches to succession planning management. So I'm saying that succession management has been defined as a part of succession process and ranges on a continuum from mechanical replacement planning to comprehensive succession management. What I'm talking about is a comprehensive succession management where there's a plan. Of course, in family businesses, sometimes, especially in the African context, usually maybe the firstborn, the eldest son takes over, you see, and then the others follow like that. But it should not always be like that. You see, you can have the eldest son who does not have business acumen. So he may not be the right person to take over the business. So it's important to identify, even if it is family business, who among the children or the siblings has business acumen and can take over the business in the event that maybe the father goes. Just like in a corporation, you look for the top executives and find out who have the drive to run the company, who have the potential. And those are the ones that are groomed, and possibly sometimes they can be put in acting position so that no vacuum is left when the CEO leaves. There are 3 questions that are underlying a proven best practice approach to succession planning. Number 1, what leadership does the organization need to succeed going forward? So you really need to know what's the kind of leadership the organization wants. What leadership that the organization have in place at the moment, and what must happen to close the gap. So when you're doing your succession planning, of course, that's why I said this is something that should start as early as during the recruitment. In the organization where you work, it's important that you fit into that culture. And when you fit into the culture of that organization, then it means you also have an equal chance if you work hard and you move through the rank to be the next general manager or the next CEO. So basically, again, it means that your leadership and your cultural values have to be in tune with the organizational cultural values and leadership style. Otherwise, then if there's a mismatch, then you may not be the right person. So indeed, why is succession planning important? I'm just trying to say we don't leave a vacuum. But again, look at it this way. There are times when organizations look for somebody from outside, you know. There are times when that is encouraged. Instead of, there's something in veterinary medicine, they call inbreeding. Inbreeding, I don't know whether some of you come from livestock areas, but if you come from livestock area, when you met animals that are close, you know, like if you're talking of livestock, sheep, cattle, or goats, whatever, if you breed relatives closely related, maybe cousins or same family, then you end up with weak genes. After a long time, the genes composition becomes weak, and maybe productivity goes down. Now that is what is called inbreeding. So that is why sometimes then we encourage you bring seeds from outside. You bring maybe bulls that are not related to the ones you have. So you're doing, you're crossing, you're bringing new genes. That also happens in organizations sometimes. When we find that maybe the organization is not doing well, as a result, maybe sometimes of lack of the right culture within. So that's why we may think of getting somebody from outside to come and bring new way of thinking, to rejuvenate the organization into new activities. So that's also important. And as I said, the important thing here is that the business continues. Good planning and good strategic focus is important. You can see some of these, like in the American, we know of companies that have been running for 100 years and even Japanese companies, you know, some of them have been running for centuries. Yeah, companies like, I don't know whether you have Colgate in your country, is a toothpaste. has been running for almost 100 years. Coca-Cola, I think everybody knows, 100+ years, and many others. So it is Japanese farms, like all these we know, the Toyota and the rest, they've been running for centuries. And some of them just started as small cottage companies. And because of proper succession planning, they have moved over generations and generations, right? So that's why this is important, so that it's passing hand. You're passing it in the correct hand, and the company can go and go and go for generations and generations to come, so that it doesn't die. That's the basis for effective succession planning. So it serves as a contingency planning and keeps the organization well prepared for any sudden attrition that may happen, and reduce the impact of losing key employees to a great extent. So we don't want a vacuum. As I said, whether you have, how good you have as a GM or as a director, they're not going to be there forever. As I said, one, they may die while on job. Two, they may get other appointments, may be better. Three, they may fall sick, you know. Four, they will retire. So they'll not be there forever. So it's important that the organization keep that in mind and have a good alternative, a good plan of succession, so that maybe you can look at maybe people at the top there, maybe the finance director, maybe the HR director, maybe the IT, you know, the director of strategy, and see among the top there, who are the three that you can groom to take over should this guy leave, right? So that's very key for us. When you read that, then you'll see the benefits. Also, employees who are identified as successors based on the skill set they possess can be groomed well to handle the relevant positions. Employees get to have well-defined roadmap of their careers, and that's why I said it's important. Sometimes when somebody, if you can see that somebody joined this company as a management trainee and moved over the rank and became a supervisor, then moved over and became maybe a junior manager, then moved over and became a manager, then moved over and became maybe a finance director, then became the CEO, you know, it motivates and encourages others, and they see that if you work hard, then you can move within the organization, right? So that's really true. So you see, employees get to understand that the organization has future plans for them, and will tend to stay with the organization for a longer time, you know, because they know I can move, I can grow within this organization. Most of the time, people leave jobs because, one, they think that they're not growing as human beings, or number two, because of bad bosses, you know, bad leadership. So those are some of the things that sometimes make people leave organizations. So if you ensure that there's good leadership and people see room for growth, then of course your employee retention is going to be very high. So those are some things that you really need to look at. Overall, it creates a very positive atmosphere within the organization and leaves employees feeling extremely satisfied in terms of career progress, and they get highly motivated. But remember, I've said there are instances when we will look for solutions from outside. When we find there's a lot of inbreeding, when we find that we are not getting solution internally, so we'll be forced to look outside. And I think that's also very, very critical. Now, let's just discuss this last bits of question that summarizes our discussion on succession planning. And I think we said 9 and 10. The one I looked at here was what? Yeah, activity 8. Yeah. So this one we look at it in the next class. Let's just briefly go through this. Discuss the term succession planning in the context of corporate governance practices. How do you look at succession planning in the context of corporate governance? I think that's the first thing that I tried to look at here, where it said corporate governance demands that the board should satisfy itself with plans that plans are in place for orderly succession, So yeah, appointment. So it basically talking about the board putting in plan measures to ensure that succession is well put, top executives can be replaced when they leave. What, in your opinion, is the justification for ensuring that there is a succession plan? I said the justification, first of all, is to motivate the employees to know that they can rise within the organization, to know that the organization cares about them, So such, they feel motivated, they feel cared for, and they feel they can grow, they have a future with that company. Using relevant illustration, examine how major corporates in Kenya implement succession planning in the organization. Maybe I should change this, and then maybe I would get an example from you. I don't know who is there to just give me how major corporations in Ethiopia implement succession planning. Anybody who can discuss that? Do you have an example, possibly in your company, how you implement succession planning? Is it there in the first place? Do you have a succession plan? And what plans are there to implement it? Anybody who can try his hand at this? Do you have in your company a succession plan? Do you have one in place? Using relevant illustration, examine how major corporates in Ethiopia implement succession planning in the organizations. Anybody with an example? Would you say your company has a succession plan?
If you relate with training and learning and development within one organization, there can be a succession plan.
Yeah.
But in corporate governance and succession plan is correlated things.
Yes.
If there is a good succession plan, good corporate governance can be created. If there is good corporate governance, it ensures to have a succession plan. It lives with the succession planning. It is correlated. But in our company in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, I've got one example. For example, some of our friends may remember Muhammad Abdullah Oksadi. Muhammad Abdullah Oksadi, one of Ethiopian very giant coffee exporter, transporter, and he has got a lot of capital.
Yeah.
But after his days, he has got so many children. They distribute his capital in
and the company is closed.
It's closed now.
Almost closed. But
is he dead or is still alive?
He born professors. He born doctors. He born a lot of within 5 wives. But he cannot create. He didn't have a succession plan. He cannot create a leader. He cannot create a person who can continue his aim, his vision.
Is he dead or is he still alive?
Dead. He's dead. He's dead.
Yeah.
Even the government can. Even the government tries to collect his property and organize it as a corporate company and distribute as a share for their children. But the company, after 5 and 6 years, the company smoothly laid down. That's a major problem in good corporate. It cannot be separated. Succession plan is a major thing to continue good corporate governance. That's my
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. And you see, the example you have given me is typically same. Many other Kenyan rich businessmen is the same. Once they die, then yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yes, Salimai. Yeah.
We can see the Ethiopian case in two different scenarios.
Yeah.
Specifically, those international companies who are working in Ethiopia has a good succession planning. For example, the Total, Mobil, the oil industries. As an example, Sika, where I am working, it is a Switzerland company. They have a well-structured succession planning implemented through HR in every level, and they groom starting from the bottom until the top. So they have a good succession planning in that case. But when we come to the domestic enterprises, I'm afraid to say there is a company who have a good succession planning, because you know the problem, most of the companies are established by illiterate traders. They are not educated, but they have got money through different things, through hard work, through corruption, through others. And
it's the same thing.
They build a company and put the key on their neck. When their neck breaks, the key goes down deep to the sea. That is the problem. You know, we don't have.
I really appreciate
it's the
that.
same problem.
Yeah. Now, I think this
It's the
is
same
all
problem even here.
African problem, basically. We don't have that. Even their sons and daughters start fighting. I know. I was working for one company. So his son, the son of the owner, and the daughter of the owner was stealing from their father's company.
Yeah.
As he alive. I can say there is one guy, the so-called Yirga, Ato Yirga, has a lot of companies. And he put, before his death, he put a structure. He formulates the company and assign one of his son as a general manager and the others as a shareholder.
Yeah.
He gave for all a company and make the others as a shareholders. Even after his death, now the company is running effectively. I can say he made a good, if you know,
succession plan.
Kangaroo,
Ambassador,
3F, Ambassador, a lot of companies are there. So they are running effectively. I can say the only one I know in Ethiopia with succession planning from an illiterate trader is this one. All the others.
What about the Echigada? What about the Echigada?
Don't you know that the son of the Echeda were fighting with pistols in their office?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the company survived.
The company survives, but not in a smooth way. It is in a hard way.
In hard way. I know about that, but
it is
finally,
it is not with proper succession planning.
Yes.
You know, a lot of elders were mediating them.
Yeah.
You know. It's a problem, doctor. So we can conclude the Ethiopian scenario in these two cases.
No, it's the same here. You know, I just want a typical example, but the same even in this country. So I think that is something that maybe the good example you have given is what we should all copy. Yeah. And it's a problem. It's a big problem.
Do you have any example in Kenya?
Many. There are many. They're in the paper every day. They are in the newspapers every day. People fighting over, and once they get, then the companies run down, and it's here everywhere. I think just like Ayele said, many of the companies are not founded by maybe people who are not well educated. I mean, in the in the sense of going to school, but they have the money in whichever way. And so, but again, you find some of them. There are some who may not be very educated, but then they have raised their children, taken them to school, them in leadership position, and you find such companies survive. But those who are not thinking in that way, then as Yele says, if they put the key on their neck and then when they die, the key sinks with them. Yes, Biru. Biru has raised the hand. Biru, go ahead. Biru, I can. Yeah.
Okay. The succession planning in Ethiopia, in HR policies in most of the companies, there is the succession plan in the HR policies. However, they are trying to make successful this succession plan, especially they give training in order to make capable employees in the place where they are assigned. They want to take for the better position. They want to develop employees from one level to another level. So the succession plans are trying to implement in some companies, but very few people already achieved in such plans and become successful to get the better position through this succession plan. To make it successful, a lot of trainings are given by foreigners. The succession plan failure is sometimes are seen in this training, especially. Most of the time, people are coming from abroad and give training here in Ethiopia in a study, giving training by the people who knows the real life of the people here in Ethiopia. These foreigners are giving training as the experience they have in their country. So the coaching also sometimes it's on-job training, and sometimes it's just the theoretical parts of the work is given for employees. Like with this succession plan, they are trying to achieve the goal of the HR policy. However, in some cases, as I told you, this succession plan might be successful, and because of the failures of the management, the management people or the CEOs, it may not be effective. Sometimes they are not following the structure of the company practically, and also sometimes because of different forced reasons, it's difficult to follow the succession plan and implement it in the organizations, because there might be such a skill gap in our country. Because of that, the government or the organization owner may force it to appoint someone from outside.
From outside,
because of this, the succession plan might not be implemented. And sometimes it might not be implemented. And also, as you said, as the political issue, sometimes the government also needs a faithful person to fit for certain positions. So to fill this gap or to appoint a trustful person for certain positions, the HR may not follow the succession plan. And also, as Alex said, this is the relatives way and the tribes issue also. Some people want to appoint their own tribes for the security issue and for other purposes, and because of and also for the bribe cases, in order to create corruption areas in different governmental organizations, especially they want to assign someone who is a good relation with one who is appointed that position. So that's all that I want to add. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think yeah, that's is quite a detailed discussion of succession planning. He says organizations have them, but sometimes it may not be implemented because of maybe lack of the right skill set, I think, as he puts it. Sure. So I think that was quite detailed. Let's just finish. What are the challenges of succession planning in Kenya from a corporate governance perspective? How do Ethiopian corporates address these challenges? So maybe let me just put here, what are the and I think the challenges are some of the things that Biru has been explaining, and even what are the current succession planning in Ethiopia? Yeah, I think this really is some of the things that you have been explaining. Biru has really talked about that. Fact that you have it in the HR, but it may be not implemented because of political issues or having not the right skill set, or you get somebody from maybe outside, which is true. Pick an example of a big corporate in Ethiopia where succession planning is a smooth sail. Discuss the factors that have enabled such a smooth implementation to take place. Are you able to, is there an example you can give in Ethiopia where succession planning has been very smooth and does not have, and so what would you attribute to that smoothness?
I already explained one example.
Yes. Yeah, you gave, which company was that? Where you work?
No. From the local one, Mr. Yirga Dubale's company, he has 5 or 6 any construction, any real estate, kangaroo foam, kangaroo shoe factory, 3F furniture production and sales company. There is also real estate. So this company and also Lions Beer Factory, he established almost all, and he made a good succession planning, and he already did now, but the company is running efficiently.
Sufficiently, yeah. What of in the public, in the okay, so that is
PLC.
private.
Most of it's a PLC.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, that's good. I think that tries to have answered most of the issues. So so thank you very much. I think that was an eye opener on issues of succession planning and the executive directors and GMs and CEOs, remuneration, their salaries, and what forms part of their salaries and compensation, and what are the issues? Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it ethical? You know, those are some of the questions we have been discussing. So I think for me, that forms part of what I wanted to talk of today. So please just try to make sure that because I know we should be finishing the semester by, let's say, the first week of October. So I think let's just stop it there so that on Monday we'll see what to do. We just have maybe one series of lectures, 15 and 16, but possibly you have assignments to work on, which I hope you should be able to be finishing up by next week so that you can submit them by Friday. So for now, I think we can end the assignment, and now so Ayele can drive back home. Ayele can now drive back home. So have a good evening. That was Biru, Bekal, Kirubel, Ayele, and Bisho. Bisho today didn't talk. Bisho didn't talk. No, he didn't talk.
Bisho, where are you?
I'm wondering where he is. Today he was very quiet.
Yeah,
he's there. He's there. Okay, guys. So enjoy your evening. So let's meet on Monday. Have a good weekend. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You.
Bye.